lake effect snow advisory hitting parts of central New York.
The talks of merging Syracuse and Onondaga County continue.
And a Syracuse elementary principal that was fired is speaking out.
Good evening and welcome to NCC News at 4. I'm Maddy Oleszkiewicz.
And I'm Paola, Suro. Let's get right to the weather and the snow expected in central New York.
Commuters, that winter snow, lake effect snow advisory in effect last night got upgraded to a much more severe lake effect snow warning earlier today. Onondaga County was supposed to get about 4 inches of snow, but as you can see behind me, it looks like the storm clipped and just missed Syracuse. But if you were to drive out of the city, particularly to the northeast, you would have been hit with some dangerous driving conditions, cutting your visibility down to less than half a mile. Now, that same storm would have made for excellent conditions on the mountains for any skiers or snowboarders that may be watching. The temperature stuck at about 32 degrees for most of the day and is expected to creep down into the low 20s this evening. For the full weather forecast, stick around for just a few minutes.
Thank you, Cole. The possibility of a merger between Syracuse and Onondaga County is in the talks. The Consensus Commission released a report Tuesday saying this would help save money and improve services. Mayor Minor did not attend Tuesday's press conference, but County Executive Joni Mahoney was optimistic on the merger, saying the city and county could work together to improve government. Syracuse Common Council President Van Robinson says an agreement may be around the corner.
The city, at some point, I think, with the largest population, was essential in coming to some kind of an agreement to belong to a metropolitan government.
Some of the outcomes of this merger include the consolidation of the Syracuse Police Department and the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office, as well as the merging of the village and town courts to reduce the number of court justices. The report released by Consensus says that a city-county merger could save $20 million a year in governmental costs alone. The committee expects to have a final decision by the end of March. And grocery store Price Right is opening in one of Syracuse's impoverished neighborhoods known as Food Desert for its lack of grocery stores. This area has a high concentration of poverty and has no full-line grocery stores. Community leaders have been trying to bring stores to this neighborhood so that residents who do not own cars have easy access to groceries. Manager of real estate for Price Right, Dennis Bachman, says this store will create 10 full-time and 75 part-time jobs. The store is expected to open in late summer or early fall.
The third annual Freeze Out 5K will take place this Friday night at Onondaga Community College. The 3-mile run and walk raises money for the Syracuse Rescue Mission that supports the homeless. Participants are encouraged to wear glow sticks in bright colors during the race, and refreshments and entertainment will also be provided. Registration is $35 a person and is available online until this Thursday at noon or in person before the race this Friday evening.
And a former Syracuse elementary principal was fired after putting a 9-year-old boy with behavioral problems in a 5x6 room with no windows, then lying and asking her co-workers to cover it up. Laura Viera Suarez was fired on Thursday but filed a lawsuit this week in state Supreme Court, arguing that firing her was unnecessary. Viera Suarez tried convincing an intern and a nurse to lie about putting the boy in the small room and about the boy's treatment. The document with the ruling against the ex-principal repeatedly finds that she is guilty of conduct unbecoming of a principal and neglect of duty.
More apartments will soon be available to Syracuse residents. A local development company plans to transform the top 13 floors of the State Tower building into newly renovated apartments. Pioneer companies reached an agreement to spend over $20 million to convert the current office space into 59 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. According to Pioneer's chief operating officer, the renovations will include significant interior and exterior work to the historic tower and will take 12 to 14 months to complete after the purchase is closed this March. According to Pioneer's chief financial officer, rent charges will range from about $750 to $1,900 a month. The State Department of Transportation plans to spend $1.5 million on restoring an abandoned train platform located next to Interstate 690. According to the Department of Transportation Commissioner, the state hopes to restore the platform due to its historical significance to Syracuse residents. Renovations will include repairing the existing steel structure, replacing the roof panels, and adding gravel to the base of the platform. Work on the station will be up for discussion this March and will not affect the decision of replacing the I-81 viaduct.
The New York State Bar Association is hosting a meeting in New York City this afternoon on the impact the state constitutional convention could have on lawyers as well as the public. Every 20 years, New York's constitution mandates a referendum to decide whether to bring together a state constitutional convention. November 7th, 2017 will be the next time voters will be able to decide on this. Although it's a year away, steps are being taken now to make sure that voters are able to make an informed decision. This law will allow voters to stop the legislature from holding up amendments to the state constitution. It is Governor Andrew Cuomo versus the New York Farm Bureau on the fight to raise or keep the state's minimum wage. Governor Cuomo's priority has been to raise the minimum wage to $15, while the New York Farm Bureau argues that this would amount to a $500 million tax increase on New York's farms. Currently, the state has a minimum wage of $9, not including certain benefits such as housing and transportation. Although they don't see eye to eye on this issue, the Farm Bureau supports Cuomo's plan to provide $300 million for the state's Environmental Protection Fund.
The New York State Health Commissioner is under question on the recent contamination of the village water supply in upstate Hoosick Falls. According to the EPA, there is currently an investigation on whether a chemical from a nearby factory may have leaked into the village wells. Residents are concerned about why the state commissioner did not immediately warn the residents of the polluted water. The state is now working with the EPA to further their investigation and to work on developing a plan to clean the village water supply. And now for an update on the lake effect snowstorm, we go to Cole Ellen Bogan live from University Avenue.
As you can see out here, all of that blast of lake effect snow from earlier has almost completely subsided. We've got a few flurries coming down here and there behind me out on University Avenue, but the rest of it is pretty much gone. The temperature is now sticking at 31 degrees, and looking at the week ahead, we're going to have more cold temperatures to come, with the weather trying to creep up to 35 degrees tomorrow, but the rest of the week is going to be hovering just below freezing right through until Saturday, where we're going to get a little bit of warm weather relief.
And coming up on NCC News, Donald Trump will try to stage his own debate separate from his Republican challengers.
And we will tell you how the spreading Zika virus will affect you, as well as a recap from the sports world. Stay with us on NCC News.
No, I don't think there's another...
Republican Donald Trump plans to hold a debate of his own Thursday night and will skip the debate airing on Fox News.
With 5 days left to drum up support ahead of the Iowa caucuses and just a day shy of the next GOP Fox debate. Oregon armed occupiers are reacting after the death of one of their fellow protesters. Police stopped a vehicle with probable cause for arrest when shots were fired. Lavoy Finicum, a 54-year-old Arizona rancher, was killed during the shooting. The other 5 occupiers in the vehicle were arrested, with one of them suffering a wound from the gunfire. Federal agents moved quickly this morning to seal off the remote wildlife refuge. The armed occupiers took over this wildlife refuge in eastern Oregon earlier this month to protest against supposed unfair punishment from officials. It is believed that the other protesters will continue their movement. And the mosquito-borne Zika virus is spreading quickly through the Western Hemisphere. The virus has affected over 1 million people in Brazil and is likely to reach the United States this year. The threat is relatively high due to travelers returning to the United States from the affected countries. The Zika virus shows no symptoms, but there is mounting evidence that it could affect fetuses and give them birth defects. Health officials are working on tracking the virus in order to come up with a vaccine.
The city of Flint is still recovering from the impact left behind from the water contamination that left thousands of residents exposed to unsafe drinking water. Health department officials are offering free blood tests due to the high demand for blood lead screenings. Children under the age of 6 are offered free testing at a local elementary school, and adults will be tested on a first-come, first-served basis.
The death toll is now at 49 from Winter Storm Jonas, but there is one way that the snow is killing people that might come as a surprise: carbon monoxide poisoning. A 23-year-old New Jersey woman and her 1-year-old son died of carbon monoxide poisoning while sitting in a running car that had its tailpipe covered in snow. The woman's 3-year-old daughter is in critical condition. Half a dozen others died in a similar way, and those who are working to dig their cars out are urged to not forget this very important step of clearing their exhaust pipes as well.
And let's take a look at what's going on from around. Consider new sanctions against Iran over recent missile tests. 2 officials from European Union nations say that the request came from last week at a meeting of 28 EU foreign ministers. That was just 2 days after the U.S. and the UN lifted sanctions of their own. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani is in Paris discussing business matters for the first time since the most recent sanctions were lifted. And today marks International Holocaust Remembrance Day in memory of Holocaust victims during World War II. President Obama plans to attend a ceremony at the Israeli embassy in Washington today. 2 Americans and 2 Poles, both non-Jews, will be honored for their efforts to liberate victims of the Holocaust. Today is also the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz.
And coming up, you won't believe how dangerous it is to wear your contact lenses without going to your doctors first.
And a new controversial app may be able to let you know the name of an officer who has killed someone right at the tip of your fingers when we come back. Most people don't think twice about their contact lenses, but where they buy them from could have a huge impact on their vision.
Consumers looking to buy color contacts may be tempted to just order them online or in a costume shop, But skipping the trip to the eye doctor first could be dangerous. Knockoff lenses that don't fit perfectly can cause permanent damage and sometimes even blindness. Optometrist Jim Hamilton says the availability of these illegal lenses is alarming.
The over-the-counter stuff and the online stuff, you can buy stuff online that's scary. You know, we're fighting that now as professionals of the internet's killing us.
Sites that require you to upload a prescription are safe, but others, based outside FDA jurisdiction, are not. That means the best way to stay safe is through consumer awareness. Most licensed optometrists in the area can safely fit you with a pair of non-prescription color contact lenses, and a quick trip to the eye doctor now could save you a longer and more painful stay in the emergency room later on. Cole Ellenbogen, NCC News.
We'll be right back on NCC News.
The release of a local librarian is doing more in story time than just telling stories, and her kids are adjusting to it.
May be quiet behind me right now, but just a little bit ago, it was bustling with young kids who came here to listen to stories and do a whole lot more.
As that young boy shows or screams, this is no ordinary story time. There's a whole lot more that goes on each Tuesday morning at the public library in Brewerton. Children's librarian Wanda Nelson knows having more than just stories can be beneficial to everyone.
It helps to say you can play in a little while, and sometimes they will sit down. They interact with each other. They learn verbal skills, talking with each other.
But storytime does revolve around the stories in the books, and Wanda has learned over time that there are certain books you want for kids.
I try to choose books where the kids interact. When I first started, I just read books. And now I have books that they can help with.
Rhonda loves showing the kids a book like this, but even as they grow up, she's still that trusty librarian with the perfect book.
They started reading in first grade, and I helped them find readers, and then I helped them find books for third grade, and now they're in seventh grade, and a lot of them do the Battle of the Books that the Central Square School District participates in.
It turns out that some of the kids are pretty good at the competition, and it all started with Wanda's story time.
Two of the kids who first started my first year won the Battle of the Books last year. I know, that was amazing.
Rhonda said even after 9 years of doing story time, she still loves it just as much. She compared it to being a grandma, where you can be with the kids for a little bit and then hand them off to their parents. Reporting live from North Onondaga Public Library at Brewerton, Jim O'Shea, NCC News.
I'll have the full sports report in the 4:45 show with one of the craziest endings to a game you won't want to miss. For now, back to you, Paola and Maddy.
And coming up, panting his way to the finish line, one four-legged runner finished ahead of the pack.
And now NCC News anchor Sarah Valenzuela gives us a brief look at what's coming up on the 445 newscast.
Coming up next, we'll take a look at a possible merger between Syracuse and Onondaga County, and Cole Ellenbogen will give you a full look at the weather.
Paola, can you believe this puppy ran a half marathon and got 7th place? I wish I had a dog that could do that.
I know, that's crazy. You know what? My dog is trained in Spanish and English, but could never win a half marathon. This 2.5-year-old hound, Ludovine, wandered to the start of a half marathon in her town of Elkmont, Alabama.
Along with 165 human runners, Ludovine then ran the half marathon where she finished with a time of 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 56 seconds.
And her owner, April Hamlin, didn't realize Ludovine left the yard until friends who were volunteering at the race sent her pictures. Apparently, this pup is known to go exploring around the town. Well, that does it for our show today. For NCC News, I'm Paola Suro.
And I'm Maddy Oleszkiewicz. Have a great night, Syracuse.